There's a simple roll of material in your kitchen drawer that costs less than $3, and it can increase your digital reach by 40%. It is not a software patch or a monthly subscription upgrade, but the full, raw physical expansion of your network. Humans have been manipulating invisible waves using this exact geometry for centuries to achieve extraordinary results. You've likely been told that your slow internet is a result of your provider, your hardware, or the distance from the local hub. In reality, the quality of your connection is almost entirely a matter of redirected energy and physical obstacles. In the late 16th century, the master architects of the Ottoman Empire understood that sound was a wave that could be focused. Inside the Süleymaniye Mosque in Istanbul, completed in 1557, Mimar Sinan installed 64 hollow clay jugs into the dome. This was not for decoration, but served as an acoustic mirror designed to reflect and amplify the human voice. This engineering ensured that a whisper at the pulpit reached the back of the hall with perfect clarity. Across the world, the Maya were doing the same with limestone to manipulate environmental sound. At Chichen Itza, the El Castillo pyramid was engineered so that a clap at the base would reflect off the stone steps. This reflection would return to the listener as the distinct chirping sound of the Quetzal bird. They didn't have modern electronics, but they mastered the complex principles of wave propagation. By the 1800s, British lighthouse engineers were using polished parabolic reflectors to throw a single lamp's glow 20 miles out to sea. They weren't creating more light, but were stopping the light from wasting itself by shining inland where no ships sailed. Your modern router is doing exactly that by wasting massive amounts of signal energy every single second. It broadcasts your signal in a 360-degree circle, sending half of your bandwidth into the drywall of your neighbor's house. Much of your expensive data is bleeding out into the empty street where it serves no purpose at all. But that's only the beginning of the story regarding how we reclaim this lost efficiency. If these kinds of forgotten stories matter to you, subscribe and ring the bell to help this knowledge survive. The timeline becomes even more interesting when we look at how the military took these ancient mirrors and turned them into the backbone of the modern world. The shift from ancient stone to modern metal happened during the height of the Second World War. In 1941, the U.S. War Department began experimenting with simple, metallic, angular structures known as corner reflectors. These devices could make a small wooden boat appear like a massive battleship on enemy radar screens. They realized that radio waves behave exactly like light, using the same high-frequency principles as your modern Wi-Fi. If you provide a conductive surface with the right curvature, the wave has no choice but to bounce. In 2017, researchers at Dartmouth College decided to stop treating this as military history and start treating it as a modern solution. Led by Professor Xiaozhou, the team published a paper titled Customizing Indoor Wireless Coverage via Soft Reflectors. They proved that a 3D printed shape covered in simple aluminum foil could redirect signals away from walls and toward the user. Their tests showed that focusing the signal could increase speeds in a specific room by several megabits per second. This method also secured the network by preventing the signal from bleeding through the exterior walls of the home. The science is rooted in the Faraday cage principle, named after Michael Faraday in 1836. He discovered that a conductive material like aluminum creates a shield by interacting with electromagnetic fields. When your router sends out a signal, the radio waves hit the conductive foil surface. Because the foil is a conductor, it generates an opposing field that reflects the wave back toward its source. You can think of this process like a shower head spraying water in every direction. Without a curtain, the water sprays everywhere and soaks the floor and the rug. The aluminum foil acts as the curtain, catching the spray and directing every drop exactly where you are standing. Through this simple physical redirection, the waste of the signal is transformed into digital wealth. We see this in the history of the British Royal Navy, who used giant sound mirrors carved into the white cliffs of Dover. These were giant concrete ears designed to focus sound waves into a single point to detect incoming aircraft. Your rotor is currently shouting into a void instead of focusing its energy where it is needed most. Despite this being verified by Dartmouth and used by the Navy for a century, providers never offer you a reflector. While the physics is undeniable, the logic of the market dictates a much more expensive path for the consumer, and then someone in a corporate boardroom did the math and realized that simple solutions are bad for business. A $3 permanent solution cannot coexist with a $400 billion hardware industry. You should take a moment to really think about that financial reality. If a piece of kitchen foil can fix your dead zone, you don't need to buy a $300 mesh network system. You don't need to pay your provider an extra $15 a month for a signal booster. These expensive boosters are essentially just a second and smaller version of your existing router. The global networking market is projected to reach $500 billion by the year 2030. A massive portion of that revenue comes from selling complexity to solve a problem created by simple physics. Suppression in the modern age isn't about burning books, but is achieved through clever rebranding. Companies sell you proprietary beamforming technology and something they call AI-driven signal steering. These terms sound like magic, but they are just expensive digital ways to do what a curved piece of metal does for free. They want you to believe that the air in your home is a digital frontier that only their encrypted boxes can navigate. Think about every piece of tech you own that supposedly requires an upgrade because the signal is weak. By keeping the average consumer ignorant of basic wave reflection, the industry ensures a cycle of constant replacement. They hide the simplicity behind technical jargon and building codes that favor expensive wiring over simple structural fixes. If you've watched this far, you already understand more about signal propagation than 99% of professionals in this industry. You should subscribe and share this with someone who deserves to stop throwing money at a problem that ancient architects solved 500 years ago. You should let that realization sink in before you reach for your wallet again. The industry standards favor expensive, active electronics because those devices eventually break and require constant power. These proprietary systems are designed to eventually become obsolete, so you have to buy the next version. A piece of aluminum foil never needs a firmware update to continue functioning properly. It never has a subscription fee, and it does not require an account to work. This simple material works today, and it will still work perfectly in 50 years. They've priced this knowledge out of your awareness by making it seem too low-tech to be effective. But the laws of chemistry and physics do not care about a corporate brand strategy. Here is exactly what to do, and it is almost insultingly simple. You only need a standard roll of heavy-duty aluminum foil, which you can find at any grocery store. This material typically costs about $4, and you will also need a piece of stiff cardboard. First, you should cut a piece of cardboard into a rectangle roughly 10 inches by 15 inches. Cover one side of that cardboard as smoothly as possible with the aluminum foil. You want the surface to be flat like a mirror, rather than being heavily crumpled. Next, you will bend the cardboard into a gentle parabolic curve that resembles a half pipe. The finished shape should look very similar to a miniature satellite dish. Place this reflector directly behind the antennas of your wireless internet router. The curve should be cupping the antennas with the open side, facing the room you want to target. If your router has internal antennas, you can simply place the curved unit behind the entire device. Adjusting the angle is the most critical part of the entire process. You will find that even small movements can make a significant difference in signal quality. Within seconds, you are transforming an omnidirectional broadcast into a focused and powerful beam. Your total investment is about $4 in roughly 5 minutes of your afternoon. Compare that to a $200 signal extender that takes 30 minutes to configure. Those expensive commercial devices also draw constant electricity while this manual solution is free. A technician in rural Oregon recently tested this on a farm with incredible success. The Wi-Fi signal could not reach a barn located 50 feet away from the main house. By using a larger version of this foil reflector, he boosted the signal strength by 12 decibels. That is the functional difference between having no connection and streaming high-definition video. The science behind this wave manipulation is absolutely final and proven. Roman legionnaires knew how to use polished brass shields to signal across many miles. Persian engineers knew how to focus the wind into specialized towers to cool entire cities. Your great-grandparents knew that tinfoil on TV antennas was the difference between static and the news. A multi-billion-dollar industry depends on you never learning these historical names or techniques. This knowledge never actually disappeared, but was simply buried under a mountain of expensive plastic versions. You must remember that nature has never charged a licensing fee for using its laws. Every share of this information cracks the wall they spent billions of dollars building. Every subscription keeps this channel digging deeper into the vaults they thought were sealed forever. The next vault opens very soon, and what is inside might be the most quietly suppressed trick of all.